When news broke that Nicole Kidman had filed for divorce from Keith Urban, the world waited to see what Tom Cruise would say. And now, people believe he finally has. Not through a statement, not through an interview, but in his own unmistakable way. Because something strange has started happening. A 24-year-old interview clip is spreading across social media again. The one where Nicole laughed, lifted her heel, and made the joke that said everything without saying much at all. "Well," she said with a small smile, "I can wear heels now."
Well, I can wear heels now.
The audience erupted. David Letterman chuckled, and Nicole tried to move on. But in that moment, she revealed more about her marriage to Tom Cruise than any tabloid headline ever could. And now, with her second marriage ending under nearly identical circumstances, that same clip, and Tom's reaction or lack of one, is being re-examined in an entirely new light. Because what the world is realizing is that Tom Cruise didn't just leave Nicole Kidman. He erased her. It's almost poetic and chilling at the same time. 2 marriages, 2 decades apart, both ending in irreconcilable differences. Both ending with men who quietly disappeared before the papers were even filed. Back in 2001, Tom Cruise filed for divorce from Nicole after 10 years of marriage. She said later it was a major shock, that she was blindsided, that she still loved him. But Tom, he never said a single word about her. Not then, not now. In 2025, Keith Urban moved out of the home he shared with Nicole months before the news went public. Just like Tom, he withdrew in silence first, signed the parenting plan quietly, then vanished from the picture without a trace of bitterness or goodbye. And Nicole, twice now, has been left standing in the echo of a silence she never asked for. When people see the 2001 Letterman clip trending again, most think it's just a funny moment between a late-night host and a newly divorced actress. But anyone who's ever loved someone who made them feel small knows that joke was about much more than shoes. Nicole Kidman is 5'11". Tom Cruise is 5'7". For years, she rarely wore heels around him. The image of the perfect Hollywood couple mattered. The height difference mattered. Her presence had to be balanced, softened, managed. So when she said, "I can wear heels now," she wasn't being snarky. She was reclaiming space. She was saying, "I can exist again." That's why people are connecting this moment to her latest divorce, because it feels like she's living the same story twice. But let's go back to the beginning. Before the jokes, before the silence. When Tom and Nicole met on the set of Days of Thunder in 1989, she was just 22, and he was already one of Hollywood's biggest stars. They married a year later. In her own words, she was swept away. "I was willing to give up everything," she said in Vanity Fair in 2002. "I would have walked to the end of the earth for him." And she did. She gave up independence, risk, and even parts of her career to follow Tom's lead. She once said that being married to him made her feel protected. And that word says a lot. Because protection sounds comforting, but it can also mean being contained. When you're protected by someone stronger, you also live in their shadow. And once you live in someone else's shadow long enough, you forget what your own shape looks like. By 2001, that protection cracked. Tom filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Nicole reportedly begged to save the marriage, but the decision had already been made. It was over. No public fights, no messy statements, just silence. And that silence never ended. From that day to this one, Tom Cruise has never publicly acknowledged Nicole Kidman again. Not in interviews, not at events, not even in passing conversation. Even when their adopted children grew up under his care, their relationship with Nicole remained distant. For 24 years, it's as if Tom decided she simply no longer existed. And that kind of silence, it isn't indifference. It's a statement. It's control. When someone refuses to speak about you, they control the narrative. They define what the world remembers and what it forgets. Now fast forward to 2025. Nicole's second marriage crumbles, and the world instantly draws comparisons. Keith Urban was different, or at least he seemed to be. Their love looked stable, full of mutual respect. But somewhere between his constant touring and her filming schedules, something familiar crept in. Distance, disconnection, silence. Sources close to the couple said Nicole wanted to fix things, that she was still fighting for the marriage when Keith had already moved out. The pattern was undeniable, a woman giving her all, and a man who quietly slips away before she realizes she's alone. And when news of the divorce broke, the internet went straight back to that old joke. "I can wear heels now." Because that moment, that single sentence, told the story of Nicole Kidman's entire romantic life. But the question people keep asking now is simple. Why hasn't Tom said anything still? It's been nearly a quarter century. 2 marriages, 3 divorces, dozens of interviews, and not a single mention of Nicole Kidman. There are theories, of course. Some say it's about the Church of Scientology, which reportedly labeled Nicole a suppressive person after the divorce. Under those beliefs, Tom would be expected to cut off contact completely. Others think their divorce agreements included strict confidentiality clauses, a Hollywood norm that forbids discussing personal details. But some believe the truth is simpler and far colder, that Tom Cruise simply doesn't look back, that when a chapter ends, he closes the book and pretends it was never written. And that's what makes his silence so unnerving. Because silence like that doesn't come from peace, it comes from control. Nicole has spoken many times about the emotional aftermath. In 2006, 5 years after the divorce, she admitted, "It was a shock to my system. But he was lovely to me. I still love him. Even after everything, she still said she loved him." That kind of love doesn't disappear easily, even when the other person acts as though you never existed. She has built a life since then. She's won Oscars, raised children, rebuilt her confidence. But somehow she keeps finding herself back in the same quiet heartbreak. And the saddest part? It's not just about the men. It's about the silence that follows them. Because silence is addictive. When you've lived inside it long enough, even chaos feels safer than peace. Maybe that's what Tom's so-called reaction really is. Not a statement, not a quote, but his continued refusal to speak. Because silence is its own language, and Tom Cruise is fluent in it. For some, silence means dignity. For others, punishment. For Tom, maybe it means rewriting. He's rewritten his story so cleanly that an entire decade of his life, and a woman who shared it, has been erased from the script. And that's the part that stings. Because when someone refuses to speak your name, they're not just ignoring you, they're denying you ever mattered. So no, Tom hasn't made a dramatic public statement. He hasn't gone on television or released an interview about Nicole's divorce. But maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe his silence is the reaction. A cold, deliberate echo of the same silence that ended their story 24 years ago. Because for Tom Cruise, silence is control. But for Nicole Kidman, silence has always been survival. And maybe that's what makes her so powerful now. Because she's learned how to rise from it twice. When she said, "I can wear heels now," she wasn't mocking her ex-husband. She was reminding herself that she could finally stand tall again. And as her new divorce unfolds, the world is watching, wondering if that same quiet strength will carry her once more. Because maybe Tom's silence doesn't matter anymore. Maybe the real story isn't that he still won't speak. It's that Nicole doesn't need him to. Her voice, her story, her height, they're all hers again. And after 24 years, that might be the only reaction that truly matters.